Welcome, friends, back to Mind Games, a show that we put together on the Sellout Crowd Network. I'm the host, Guerin Emig, columnist for Sellout Crowd, mostly covering college football. Focus this week on not just the Cowboys of Oklahoma State, but the OU Sooners. Big game down in Dallas, I hear, against Texas, team you've heard of before, I'm sure. And we thought we'd bring in a luminary when it comes to this game and the OU program to talk about OU Texas, Tinker Owens, two-time All-American receiver during the Sooners' halcyon days of the mid-'70s, is my special guest this week. So let's climb inside Tinker's head to talk about the Sooners, the Longhorns, and whatever else comes up over the course of this episode of Mind Games. Tinker, thanks for coming on, man. How are you?
Well, I'm doing great. I appreciate it, Guerin. It's always good to see you.
It's great to see you. It's always great to visit, especially on a week like this. You going to the game? Start with that.
No, we decided about 3 years ago we had our last Texas game. We lost one of our grandkids at the fair after the game. We had our two grandsons with us, so I told my wife after that, I said, well, I'm never coming back down here, and she said, I'm not either. So we agreed on that. So we're watching on TV. We ran a place down by Sulphur.
Okay.
And family goes down. We watch the game there.
All right. Friendly confines, never hurt anybody, right?
Yeah, I just don't like the crowds anymore, you know?
No, I get you. Food's cheaper, right?
Oh, yeah.
Just keep the drinks cool in the fridge, and you can.
Bathroom's handy. Everything's good. So.
And if you were at the game last year, it was a little harder to switch to another one at halftime because you didn't want to watch that, right? So we'll take that. Listen, I have you on here because not to age anybody, myself included, right? But it's been all of a sudden exactly a half century since you put on your show against Texas, the 1973 game. You come on and talk about OU Texas from the Switzer era, right? You usually start with defense and the Selmans and Elrod and all those linebackers. Sure. Bosworth a little later. You talk about offense. It's how many yards did the quarterback or the halfbacks throw up in the wishbone? And here's Tinker Owens just running routes all through the Texas secondary en route to a 163-yard game to lead Switzer to a win in his first OU Texas try, 52-13. How often do you think about it, Tinker? And how fresh in your mind does it remain 50 years later?
Well, it's still pretty fresh. You know, it's not quite as fresh as it used to be, but you know, I don't think about it a whole lot except this time of year. You know, when the game's coming up and so on. And of course, a lot of people want to interview and visit about various games and various years that I played in the game. But yeah, the '73 game was kind of a game that just got out of hand fast and we just kept the pedal on the metal and kept going and so little Joe threw me a halfback option pass to me, and Joe to this day says, I thought I was going to throw you out of bounds. I don't know how you caught it and stayed in bounds. I said, well, I'm not sure how I did it either, but I did it. So, and then of course we hit a big post pattern that Steve Davis threw me, and their safeties kept going for the run, and they forgot about my little skinny, what out there, and so I was wide open. I tell people to this day, that's the hardest catch in football is when nobody's around, and you got 60, 70,000 fans watching. If you drop it, everybody's watching you, so you have to really concentrate on it. But yeah, that was game. And of course, right before half that year, they hit Billy Brooks with a streak pattern down the sideline. Mm-hmm. And that basically, I think at that point, Texas gave up. They knew they were beaten, and they weren't going to beat us that second half.
No, it was, I think at the time, it was the worst loss of at least Darrell Royal's tenure at Texas.
I think in the history of the rivalry.
Yeah, until I think 63-14 in 2000.
That's correct. Yeah, when the year they won a national championship.
Yeah, when Bob Stoops sort of let everyone know this was really happening in Norman. Right. That kind of thing. So, well, Barry, Tinker, that was Bob's second OU Texas game in 2000. The 73 game that we're reminiscent about, this was your head coach's first, right? This was Switzer's first.
Right. Fairbanks was my freshman.
You remember how he was? What, did he act like a first-year head? He'd been in the program. I understand that. But was it a little bit weird, different for him?
I don't think so. Coach has always been comfortable in his own skin, and from the starting the season with playing Baylor that year, he pretty much knew we had a good football team.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, we went out and won that game and went on to Texas. And that season, in reality, we should have won all of our games, but we didn't. Of course, we had to tie with USC out in the Coliseum. But that was but Switzer was just Switzer. I mean, from the time, we knew him, obviously, since he was the coordinator, before, for Chuck. And so everybody knew him. He was young. He was almost like one of the kids to us. We were like one of us.
Yeah.
But he kind of still is at 86 years old. Or I guess he'll be 86 tomorrow.
Let me ask you this. You knew he was going to get the job, right, when Fairbacks left?
We thought so. We weren't 100% sure, but we were, we knew he was the guy. Chuck was leaving. He would be the next guy to step in that was on the staff. And I didn't foresee them going. We had so many good coaches. I didn't foresee them going outside to hire somebody, different than Barry.
If the reputation, especially that version of Barry, was just, I'm going to trust you to do and say and wear what you want. What's the reality? I mean, I assume you had a curfew the night before OU Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Was there a bed check the Friday night before that game?
Yeah, I'm sure they came around. But, of course, at that time, we didn't actually stay right in Dallas. We stayed in Fort Worth.
Okay.
Kind of to keep us away from Dallas, to keep us out of trouble.
Uh-huh.
But, we definitely had curfew, and they came around checking, so.
You stayed in Fort. I didn't know. That's not something I knew. I don't think so. That was Switzer's policy, is to put you guys in Fort. Did Chuck do the same thing, or was that Barry's doing?
I think it was Barry.
Okay.
Doing it.
And would you have tested if you'd been in Dallas, whether guys who might have been lured into the revelry?
Thursday night was drown night at South 40. So we got that out of the way on Thursday. So we were Friday. We had to take off. So.
I got you. All right, you referenced it. Your first big moment in the 73 game was a pass not from Steve Davis, but from Joe Washington. Halfback pass. When was this installed in the playbook? Was this how much time leading up to the moment did you have to think about this?
Well, it was in the playbook from the beginning, not just for that game. For our we didn't have that many pass patterns. Number one, so we had a reverse option pass and things like that, like the receiver, that pitched the ball to me, and I tried to throw, but I didn't have the best of arms in the world, so they didn't count on me too much for that. I think they put Billy in for that.
Brooks had a little better arm, is what you're telling me?
Yeah, he's a great athlete. Billy was a great player, and he was on my tail the whole time I was there, so I had to work my tail off every day in practice to make sure that he didn't take my job. So
yeah, I hear you.
When Donnie Duncan came in from Navarro Junior College, he brought Billy with him.
Okay.
So he was a star player at Navarro.
Okay.
And then he became the receiver coach.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
And I started thinking, this might not be good. When I see the 6'3", 210 guy get out of a Volkswagen Bug that he drove on the campus and looked like a stallion, and I didn't look like a stallion. So, but Billy was a great guy, great player, and obviously had a great pro career. And so,
so you're telling me if there was a transfer portal between the 72 and 73 seasons, Tinker Owens might have entered his name into it?
Well, there was a possibility that or Billy going, one or the other. So, one of us. But we pretty much, people don't recall, we pretty much split time the last my junior and senior year. We, at one time they picked up our signals on the sideline, so we had to run plays in. Every play I had to run in, take the play in, run the play, run back off. Here comes Billy with the play. And so we had to do that for a few games, but overall, I started and I played the first series, he played the second, and vice versa. We just kept going third, fourth, but we rotated. So we basically played the same amount of time.
Yeah. And you both were All-Americans. That's true, right? I mean, I didn't. That's not just like lore. That's fact, isn't it?
Yeah, I lost you there for a second.
You and Billy Brooks were both All-Americans. correct?
We were All-American in 75.
Yeah.
And which was unheard of. I think I caught 12 passes that year. I think he caught something like nine.
I still can't believe. Yeah, I still can't believe that.
Yeah, and I can't believe it either. So, but yeah, I think it was Time Magazine. We were both, and I didn't even know. Time Magazine had a All-American team, but I made a few of the other ones. Of course, didn't make the AP. Guys like Little Joe and Leroy and Dewey, guys like that were making those teams. But I was really fortunate at OU to play with so many great players.
Oh, for sure.
And so many great guys, and to still be friends today. And unfortunately, we've lost too many of them. With Elrod and Leroy Salmon and others, Buck Buchanan, just guys that we've lost over the years. Jerry Anderson. So we you look back, we've lost a lot of players that were on that team.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you about just the romanticism of that team in that era in a little bit. But before we leave the 73 game behind, the halfback pass was in your playbook. That didn't mean that Barry had to call it.
Right.
Were you surprised that he did?
Well, that was Galen Hall.
Galen Hall's the one that
their
called
offensive
it.
coordinator at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you surprised that Galen called it?
No, we'd practiced it. I mean, we'd practiced it even before the Texas game. That was part of our deal, and so we'd practiced the play many times. And normally Joe threw it well, and I caught it, so it worked out well in the Texas game.
Except he didn't. If I heard you right a little bit ago, his thought was he overshot you.
Well, he thought he threw it too far out of bounds.
Yeah.
He threw it too far out, and I wasn't going to be able to catch it and stay in bounds.
So how did you do that?
I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's just instincts, and just I caught it and just turned it up and scored easily.
You know what I think it is, Tinker? I think you're a much better receiver than you gave yourself credit for. It sounds to me like.
Well, I'm a pretty modest guy, so I played the game because I loved it, and I was blessed to be with so many great players and over the years, and then blessed to go on and play pro football for 6 years. So
yeah, no, for sure. Was the OU Texas rivalry as bitter then than it has become since? What, just from your player perspective? I mean, did you guys grind your teeth?
I think it was more bitter back in those days because both teams came down the ramp at the same time, and they don't do that any longer.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got on one side of the tunnel you have the Texas team, and the other side you got OU, and everybody's talking trash. And I'm, as a freshman, I'm scared to death when I went to Texas as a freshman because I'd made the varsity and I didn't really play in the game. But when I walked out of that tunnel, listen to those guys, number one, I thought there was going to be a fight. And then I walk out of the tunnel and they shoot off that cannon, and I see Bevo there, and I was afraid I lost it. But yeah, like I say, our team was just so good, and Texas had great teams. I mean, really, that's the only year we really blew Texas out.
That's right.
In the 4 years that I was at OU, you
won all four, though, right? I mean,
all four. Yeah. I'm one of the few Sooners that can brag and say they never lost to Texas.
That is something to be very. It's a handful, and I would imagine a man wears that into it the rest of his life, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. I mean, it's pretty cool that we never lost to Oklahoma State, never lost to Nebraska, and never lost to Texas. And we were 43-2-1 over my 4 years at OU.
Mm-hmm.
So needless to say, we were pretty good.
Well, you were crazy good, and the 74-75 teams, again, there really is a mystic quality about those teams. I think you might agree with me here because of the number of legends on both sides of the ball, right? Names.
Well, plus we were the best team that was never seen in 74.
That's right.
We weren't on television at all. Joe should have won the Heisman that year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but nobody saw him play, because of probation.
Mm-hmm.
And that, so, but, Archie Griffin won it twice, and Joe should have won one of them, either 74 or 75.
Right. the team, and I bring this up because of, again, the 50th anniversary Tinker, the team that, and it's all the same era, I get it, but the team I think that gets a little bit of short shrift is the 73 team, because a lot of those guys that bloomed into All-American talents in 74, 75 were just coming of age in 73. Plus, I still say, and you tell me if I'm out of my mind, I still think arguably the best linebacker that I ever saw play at OU was Rod Schote.
There's no doubt about it.
And he was on that 73 team.
Yep. Rod was fast. He got sideline to sideline. A great player, you know. Of course, we lost him years ago as well. But, yeah, Rod was a great player. And, you know, we had a guy named Dave Smith that played. And people don't talk about Dave Smith, but linebacker, but he was really good. And so we were stacked everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my freshman year when we came in, you know, you had Elrod, you had the Selmans, you had Little Joe, Kerry Jackson, you know, myself, and many others that ended up being great players in their career.
Mm-hmm. Who did you latch onto? You could be overwhelmed in a situation like that with the kind of talent that Switzer and Fairbacks down the stretch of his run was building at the time. A guy could get overwhelmed. I mean, back then they had 6 and 7 string. It wasn't just
two.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
So how did you hang in there?
You know, I never really thought about it. It was just one of those deals that you know, you go out and you do your best and hopefully things work out. And unfortunately, you know, I was really kind of lucky because I was on the freshman team when I ended up getting promoted to the varsity, and that was the first year a freshman could play.
Mm-hmm.
And so you know, I was really lucky with that, and I just happened to have a good practice against the defensive backs and scored 2 or 3 touchdowns on 7-on-7 drill, and so Fairbacks hollers at me. After that, freshmen are done for the day. So we could leave and go to the pub or wherever. And he hollers at me and says, "Tinker Owens, I want you to stay out for team."
Uh-huh.
I'm going I don't even know half the plays, you know, type thing. Well, actually, at first he said, "Go get a drink," and I went and got a drink, and I started walking off, and he hollers at me again. And so that's how I ended up playing on the varsity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Needless to say, this was a surprise to you.
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah. I mean, they had me actually playing running back on the freshman team.
Yeah.
Yeah, not receiver. But during that drill, I played receiver. And so I was just really lucky to have a good day and get noticed. And funniest thing, Switzer or Fairbacks said, "Hey, I want you to go see Coach Hall tomorrow and visit about playing on the varsity." And so I see Coach Hall. I tell you how smart I am. I tell Coach Hall, you know, to be honest with you, Coach, if I'm not going to play, I'd rather just play on the freshman team. I'd rather get some playing time.
Uh-huh.
And he said, no, you're going to have an opportunity to play. We're short on receiver and so on. And then, of course, John Carroll got hurt, and that kind of opened the door for me to, you know, to play more.
This is your freshman year. You want to tell our viewers and listeners how that freshman year ended for you? I think it went pretty well at your bowl game.
It was a pretty good year. You know, you know, the funny thing, I'm the Sports Illustrated Lineman of the Week. Think about that. I weighed about 161 pounds, and I was Lineman of the Week. It's what the certificate that I received. Lineman of the Week.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, and that was against Nebraska, and so on. So and then of course the Sugar Bowl. I was MVP of the Sugar Bowl and had a really good game. Got 5 passes for 100 and some yards, 1 touchdown, and we won the Sugar Bowl. So you know, I was just in the right place at the right time. What I tell people, you know.
I don't know, man.
We had a lot of really good football players that came in. You know, even after Billy came in, there was guys that came in that were good. Steve Rhodes and a number of other receivers that were really good.
We've talked now for almost 20 minutes, Tinker. We haven't mentioned your big brother, who some I think have heard of. Steve, I know, was impactful for you growing up and sports, all sorts of things. Big brothers usually are, right? I
Oh, yeah.
wonder how big a help was Steve. He just come through the program, won the Heisman in '69, a couple of years before we're talking about. How big of an impression did he make on you in terms of finding your way in his wake?
Well, growing up with Steve, he was such a hard worker, and I saw the work ethic and the time that he put in on the practice field. That once practice was over, everybody would leave, but he'd stay. And I kind of got those traits from him, of hard work and dedication, to whatever you're doing. And so Steve's always been so supportive of me. And,
Right.
I was going to sign with Arkansas, and Steve said, I'll kick your butt if you sign with Arkansas. You're going to Oklahoma. And I said, well, Steve, you're a lot bigger than me, so I guess I'll go to Oklahoma. So he kind of made the decision for me.
Yeah.
And I wanted to come to OU all along, but I just, everybody thought, well, my brother won the Heisman, I'm going to win the Heisman. Well, I knew I wasn't going to be that kind of player to win a Heisman Trophy. Steve was. And so, following his footsteps was the reason that I was apprehensive about signing with OU.
Yeah. Well, you referenced a little bit ago that you were playing running back on the freshman team.
Yes.
Did you prefer that to receiver?
No, not really. But see, I was a wing back. I was a wing back in high school.
Okay.
So I ran a lot of reverses and inside traps and things like that. Pitches and so on. And then I played safety on defense. But so I caught the ball quite a bit in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew I could catch. I knew I could catch the ball. It was just a matter of getting a chance. And
yeah,
of course, the truth be known, Fairbacks didn't want me. Leon Cross told me the story because Leon was recruiting me.
Okay.
And he said, well, no, we're not going to sign Tinker Owens. They were talking about signing Steve Largent. And Leon said, hey, Coach, Tinker can play. We need to recruit him. And so Leon convinced Chuck to recruit me to come to OU.
So so they were going to go. They're going to get Largent.
You're breaking up on me.
OU was going to get Steve Largent, is what you're telling me.
Well, that's what I was told.
Okay.
It was between really the last scholarship was really between me or Largent.
How about that?
Of course, they were a wishbone team, so receivers aren't going to get the ball a whole lot anyway.
Yeah. Well, the best stories are the ones that work out for both parties. I think this one did for you and Steve both, because Largent got his share of passes, I think, at TU, if I remember right.
Oh yeah, he did. Hey, I played in the Oil Bowl with Steve.
Okay.
And Steve ran great patterns. I was faster than him, but I'd never seen a guy that could cut like he could, or stop like he could stop. He had I had kind of long legs. He had short legs, and he could come to a stop, I guess, a little quicker than I could. But I played, and Steve and I have remained friends over all these years.
That's great.
Great guy, and we know what he did in the NFL, and beat all the odds just like a lot of guys do.
Yeah. Who do you keep up with from those 73, 74, 75 teams? You mentioned too many of them are already gone, and it's you hate to put a shroud over the movement, the ticking of the clock, right, in time. But
right.
Who are you able to see quite a bit of?
I see Jimmy Luttrell all the time. I see Mike Vaughn a lot. See Little Joe when he's in town. There's a number of guys that are around. Of course, Darryl Ray was younger than me, but I see Darryl around. But I'm trying to think all the guys that stay in touch with. A lot of the guys I was friends with were actually some of the older guys, like Grant Burgett and Tim Welch, and they kind of took me under their wing when I got to OU. So I guess you could say they taught me the ropes, if you will.
Yeah.
Since they were already here and on campus and so on, but I haven't missed. I've missed one old club weekend since I got out of school.
Wow.
And the only one I missed was I was in Norman, but I had the flu and I was in bed at Steve's house, so I couldn't get out of bed.
Yeah.
That's the only one I missed over all these years.
Yeah. how often do you make a point to talk to Switzer?
I saw him yesterday at the Sooners golf tournament and visited with him.
Okay.
I see Coach all the time.
Yeah.
Of course, being here in Norman, and of course he still signs stuff for me. And the deal is he signs, but I have to take him a bottle of wine. So what I've learned to do is make sure he signed it first and leaves it on his porch. Then I go to take his bottle of wine, leave it on his porch. I text him and say, "Coach, your wine's on the porch. I got the stuff." So,
oh man.
And Jerry Pettibone's
Yeah.
Jerry lives 2 doors down from me.
That's right.
And so we watch some games together and stuff like that, and have dinner and get together quite often.
Yeah. What do you guys make of college football with all the things that have happened, the realignment and the portal and the, name, image, likeness? It doesn't look I assume there's a lot of it that doesn't look familiar anymore, but
I don't personally like it. I mean, that's my opinion. I mean,
yeah.
I think guys deserve a little bit of money,
mm-hmm.
but why does one guy get a lot of money and another guy gets no money?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of linemen are not going to get NIL deals.
Mm-hmm.
Some will, but most of them won't.
Right.
So I think it'd be fair if they just said, "Hey, this is what we're going to give everybody. Everybody gets the same."
Mm-hmm.
Is my opinion. I don't like the fact you can just decide go to another school, and I see games and they're talking about this kid's played at 4 different schools in 4 years.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. But the game's changed so much. The money is so big now compared to obviously back in the day with TV contracts and I mean, you look at these NFL contracts these days. I mean, it's unbelievable. I made $24,000 my first year in the NFL. The minimum is like 250. The minimum now is like 250,000.
Yeah.
And back then the minimum was 15,000.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So obviously things have changed a lot.
I was going to say, what was your second job? What did you do to make
I actually worked in the oil field service business for 4 years in New Orleans.
Yeah. So you did supplement that, is what you're saying.
Yes. Yeah. I had a company car, and my job was to go see all these big oil companies in the New Orleans area, in Lafayette, and try to drum up business for them. And it was easy to get in the door because they wanted to talk to an NFL player.
For sure.
So I could get in the door, but I didn't know squat about the business.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about casing and all these different things. We just go to lunch and or have a couple of drinks at lunch, because in New Orleans that's what they do. Unlike in Norman, most people don't drink at lunch. Well, most of these guys would drink their lunch. So basically, I was just entertaining.
Yeah.
But
Gosh.
I did that for 4 years. J.D. Roberts actually helped me.
Okay.
J.D. was living in New Orleans at the time, and J.D.'s the one that hooked me up.
Yeah.
With a company out of Houston.
Okay.
And so that's how I got in that business. And I still, when I got cut from the Saints, the company asked me what I was going to do, and I said, "Well, I'm moving back to Oklahoma."
Mm-hmm.
And they were out of Lafayette, Louisiana, and they said, "Well, look, we got an office in Weatherford, Oklahoma. We'd like for you to go to work for us in Oklahoma." And I said, "Well, I didn't have a job, so they said, we'll move your family, we'll pay all your moving expenses, and so on and so on." So I had that job for about 90 days and came back from New Orleans to see my wife. She was trying to sell the house and kids. Uh-huh. And it was like Ed Burns called me. Ed played football in Nebraska, played backup quarterback in New Orleans.
Uh-huh.
And he was working with, and he said, he called me and said, "Hey, we got to go to Weatherford." And I said, "For what?" He said, "I think they're shutting it down." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I think they're shutting the whole operation down." And we drive to Weatherford, and they're loading the trucks with all the equipment. So basically, we were out of a job.
Man.
And so the company paid me for 90 more days, paid my moving expenses as they promised. They were great to me. And so I ended up in the insurance business. I always said I wouldn't be in the insurance business. And I've been in it since 1983. and still in it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're still rocking along.
I turned 69 yesterday, so I'm like, I don't know how much longer I need to keep doing this. So.
if you've got a job you like or love, it's a rare thing, Tinker, is what I'm thinking. So
I deal mainly with banks and credit unions.
Yeah.
And I have so many long-term relationships with so many bankers. I mean, some of them I've done business with since I got in the business.
Yeah.
One of the guys, I think he turned 78 years old, and he still owns the bank, and I still deal with him. Great people.
Yeah. Man, you just turned. Well, happy birthday! You turned 69. Didn't Joe just turn 70 last week?
Yeah, Joe was. See, I was 17 when I got to OU. And so was Mike Vaughn.
Okay.
Mike's birthday is on October 2nd. Mine's on the 3rd.
Okay.
And so we always remember each other's birthday.
Yeah.
So I was very young for the class.
Well, that's why I asked you, how do you, 17 years old to go into that program at that time and to keep your head above water, not only keep your head above water, but be the MVP of the freaking Sugar Bowl your freshman year.
Yeah, I didn't expect that, obviously.
So, that's crazy, man.
Hey, I was just hoping I could play some position. If it wasn't receiver, hopefully it's, somewhere. Of course, I was all-state safety.
Yeah.
Safety in high school, and so Arkansas, all they wanted to talk to me about was playing defense, which I wasn't opposed to, obviously.
Right.
But I always liked offense better than defense.
Yeah. Hey, I got to ask you real quick. You're a Miami Wardog and Okie, and OU Texas isn't going anywhere. The two teams are. They're going to the SEC starting next year.
Right.
But the rivalry is ongoing. I don't know if I'm going to have a chance to ask you this between now and Bedlam here in about 6 weeks. Does it bother you that we may be seeing the final OU Oklahoma State football game for a while?
It froze up on me, Guerin.
Does it bother you, Tinker? Does it bother you as an Oklahoman that Bedlam football is at least going on vacation after this year's game?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear your question because you're breaking up.
Yeah, we're gonna blame weather patterns. One more shot. Are you upset that Bedlam football is going on pause after this year? OU Texas is going to keep happening.
Right.
But I thought that you being an Okie, I thought and invested in Bedlam as well as OU Texas. I thought I'd get your feelings on the end of that football rivalry.
I wish they could continue it. I think it's a great tradition for both schools. Obviously we don't like each other much when it comes to football day. When the football game day anyway.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of OSU friends and great people. But I wish it would continue. But it's a sign of the times with all this people moving and shifting to different conferences and leaving for more money and all those good things. So, but the OU Texas, at least it's going to continue, and hopefully we'll play OSU again here in the fairly near future.
Yeah, we'll see how that happens. All right, I'm going to leave you with two questions I've always wanted to ask. We'll have a little fun, and then we'll let you on your OU Texas week. Tinker Owens, have you ever met another Tinker in your life?
There was a girl that lived in town in Norman named Tinker. I think she's since passed away. And there was a kid named Tinker Keck that played at University of Cincinnati years ago. And come to find out, they did an article in the Cincinnati paper, and he was named after me. His parents loved OU football, and they loved me as a player.
Is that right?
They named him Tinker Keck, Keck.
How about any idea what Tinker Keck is up to these days?
I sent him a LinkedIn message. I think he's maybe out in California, but I never heard back from him. So
that's a great story, though.
I actually talked to him on the phone and signed a book for him. And
great!
So to Tinker from Tinker.
So you've got a kindred spirit out there.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay, last thing.
I've had bulls named after me, cats named after me, dogs, other things, but not people that I know of.
Not outside of Tinker Keck. Okay, that's beautiful. All right, here's the last thing. If my math is right, when your brother won his Heisman in '69, you were 15. If my birthday math is right, or you were still mid-teen.
Yes.
Probably pretty ornery. And little brothers can do ornery things to big brothers. Is there any chance you did something you regret when he brought the Heisman home?
I don't recall any. I don't recall anything. We thought him winning the Heisman was the greatest thing in the world because they let us out of school early. My brother and I. Yeah, we got out of school early. We thought that we were so excited about that we didn't even think about the Heisman. Hey, we got out of school early today.
You didn't have to go to civics.
Yeah. The funniest story, real quick.
For sure.
I was at the Arkansas Texas game back in '69 when Steve won the Heisman. Steve and Barbara had flown with Richard and Pat Nixon, the president, to the Arkansas game. And so they announced during the game, I'm at the game with a friend of mine's parents and him.
Yeah.
And they announced, we want to welcome the President of the United States, Richard Nixon, and his wife, Pat, and the current Heisman Trophy winner, Steve Owens, and his wife, Barbara. I didn't know he was going to be there. No idea.
Wow.
And so I'm such a smart kid, I walk up toward the press box thinking I can see my brother. And these guys in suits stopped me, and I didn't know what Secret Service was at that time.
Oh, boy.
And they stopped me, and they said, son, you can't go any further than this. And I said, hey, I'm going to see my brother Steve. He won the Heisman. He's with President Nixon. They said, right, kid, go back to your seat. So Steve never knew I was at that game till a later time.
Oh, my gosh.
No idea.
Oh, my gosh.
And that's when Nixon declared that year that there should be a playoff.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Nixon was a sports fan, right? I mean, that was a real thing. It wasn't just for show. Right. He really got into it. If I'm understanding my history, Richard Nixon was a sports fan.
Yeah.
So was there a story you want to tell about the Owens Nixon traveling party? Is there another story that you want to tell?
I don't know of any more right now.
Maybe that should be on the after hours version of Mind Games.
But, yeah, we can do that.
Oh, man. That's fantastic. Tinker Owens has been my guest on this show, and what a delight he is and was for us. We thank him for his time. We thank you for listening and watching the show. It is something we do every week on the Sellout Crowd Network. You can download and subscribe at any podcast platform if you're choosing, whether YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast. A big, big round of applause. Thanks to Jacquelyn Musgrove, our producer, for getting us taken care of here today. We'll do it again next week with another guest of Mind Games. Until then, this is Guerin Emig wishing everyone a terrific day.